I finally read Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. I've seen the movie, it feels like hundreds of times. That's probably an exaggeration. But I knew that the movie was very, very close to the book. And so I didn't feel an extreme sense of urgency to read the book. But I'm here to tell you that if you love the movie, you will probably love the book even more. Shortly after I finished reading the book, I decided to go and watch the movie again, and I did not realize how many details of the plot I totally missed in watching the movie that I was able to pick up on in the text. I did a little research on Ira Levin after finishing, and I didn't realize that he's also the author of Death Trap, which was a play, but it was adapted into a movie with Christopher Reeves and Michael Caine, which is absolutely amazing. And the best thing about it is how intricately plotted it is. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Once I made that connection, it made so much more sense how well there are so many just like little interesting plot points within this book that like build up to the gaslighting that ultimately Rosemary is experiencing. Tiny spoiler if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, but I also have to say that at the end of the book, when you finally like see the baby, you really get something special out of the book that you definitely do not get in the movie. The other thing I found really impressive about Ira Levin is that right after I finished that, I then went on to the Stepford Wives. And there is just something about the way that he writes the experience of being gaslit as a woman, which is like the most horrifying thing that I think that women have to experience still to this day. Like our realities are constantly being questioned by men, and somehow this man, born in like the 1920s, was able to write that feeling of dread so well. I'm still very confused by that. While I do highly, highly, highly recommend his books that I have read so far, I do have to give a warning. The book really has racism of its time. And I'm not excusing it because it's of its time, but it's there and it exists. There were many, many moments where I was having like full body cringe. Grandpa, please stop talking. Please stop saying things. Ugh. I'm going to give an example. And if you don't want to hear it, please scroll. But I think you need to understand the level that I'm talking about. So in Rosemary's Baby, there is a character who is referred to as the Japanese, like multiple times. And the character's entire role is that like he has a camera. So it's not like hateful, but it's definitely harmful. You know what I mean? Um Different times for sure, but I want people to be able to be aware that there's that kind of content in his books. I think it's an important thing for me to know because a lot of us are up past our eyeballs of having to deal with listening to those kinds of comments and that kind of attitude. And like, I don't want you to go into the book because I recommended it without knowing